Our first speaker today, he does not just talk about transformation. I'd say he literally provokes it. Robert Szilinski is CEO of Esentri. He is a board member for sustainability at Cyber Forum and a senator in the Senate of Economy Europe. He believes in the twin transformation, of course, otherwise I'm sure he wouldn't be there today. For him, tech is our superpower, and ESG is not just compliance, but a real business case. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Szilinski isn't here to give us a keynote. No. He's here to give us a wake-up call. And I can't wait to be waken up by Robert. So please give him a warm applause on stage. And thank you for being here. And he already lost his microphone cable. It's because you're so dynamic.
Obviously.
Can I help you? Or
yeah, maybe. Thank you very much.
Look, we are so flexible here at TransformIT Europe. We are rewiring our speakers ourselves.
So I definitely got a wake-up call. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you very much for the very warm welcome. I'm really glad I'm here at the first TransformIT Springboard conference. As you already mentioned, I'm Robert Szilinski, and I don't want to talk today about checklists. I want to talk today about why checklists won't save us. Not our businesses, not our planet, and for certainty, not the idea of a better Europe. We've spent years in designing or in perfecting reporting systems, frameworks, and KPIs. But when I look around, I see a gap between what we measure and what really matters. Real transformation for me isn't about metrics. It starts with mindset, with courage, with clarity, and with the belief that in our case here, technology and sustainability together can shape something greater than the sum of their parts. So today, I want to invite you into a different story. A story of shifting from control to creativity and from compliance to conviction. So let's explore together what it means to go from checklists to impact. And let me start with Ursula von der Leyen. Yeah, she's here. When she introduced the EU Green Deal in 2019, she called it the man on the moon moment for the European Union. And honestly, for me, that metaphor really worked out really well. Because it wasn't just a policy, I found it was a bold vision. A vision that finally treated climate neutrality and digitalization not as trade-offs, but as twin engines for a better future. And a vision that is there to say we can lead, not in spite of our values, but because of them. And honestly, from day one, I really believed in that vision, in that idea. Not because it would be easy, but because it would demand everything we're good at in ingenuity, engineering, purpose. And like in the Apollo mission, it would require building entirely new systems and believing in progress before they were even visible. So the Green Deal somehow reminded me what Europe can be. Not just a market, but a movement. And not just a set of rules, but a reason to act. But now, face reality. After 6 years, the ESG movement hasn't lived up to that hype. And the goals are bold, but the results are often disappointing. And many companies are still in that mindset of delivering the bare minimum to comply. And it's a movement that risks becoming motion without momentum. And this somehow hurts. And even more, this man at the same time walks back into the world stages with a very different story. Drill, baby, drill. not metaphorically, but literally. He thinks as in fossil fuels as freedom, deregulation as strength, and short-term profit as strategy. That's his opinion. But these are not only political slogans. These are symbols of two competing futures. And for me, it's clear I choose Europe. I choose innovation with purpose. I choose a vision that believes we can be competitive without compromising our children's future. And the Green Deal, we all know it isn't perfect, but it dares to imagine a future worth building. That's my opinion. And that's exactly the kind of vision we need to lead, not to follow. But even in Europe, we see the vision eroding. There's an opposing force gaining strength. Deregulation, fossil nostalgics, and profit without purpose. And this year, I visited the World Economic Forum in Davos, and honestly, overall, I was quite disappointed. Why? Because in a lot of rooms, I didn't see the ESG movement gaining ground. What I saw were world leaders and corporates that still don't act, although they should know what needs to be done for our future. I have seen a lot of shiny exhibition stands, but there was no credibility. They speak of transformation, but they don't mean it. They publish targets, but invest in yesterday's system. And that disconnect for me personally was really painful, but also clarifying. And I'll tell you why. So with all these news, we could stop here or change the way we think about it. We could keep ticking boxes, keep grumbling about Brussels, the bureaucracy, about the leaders that are not willing to understand or to act. Or we change perspective. What if we start by refusing to see ESG mainly as a moral lecture, and instead embracing it as a strategic logic for long-term success, for a successful future? What if the real mistake probably wasn't the regulation itself? The intention was really good, we heard that before now. But in how we've approached it. And for me, it's pretty clear that when we are honest, we have humped sustainability too much into the eco corner. Sustainability still sits at the corner of many boardrooms. And yeah, it's important for them, we know, but it's far from core strategy. And that means that the business opportunities have not been capitalized, in my opinion, on anywhere near to their full potential yet. There's so much more to achieve. So what if regulation overall is the most underrated innovation driver in Europe right now? It sets a clear direction, and direction reduces risk. And for example, look at Denmark. The government in Denmark had a clear push towards offshore wind and gave Ørsted the confidence to pivot from fossil fuels to become the world's largest offshore wind player. I think that's a great example, and we need more of them. So, how can we change that? I think we need a shift from the compliance tsunami you see here to real business impact. And overall, the critics, I think, are partly right. The tsunami was too high in that picture for a lot of companies and was too high probably for our economy at that moment. But let me guide you through what I believe is the true journey of ESG paperwork moving to business transformation. It's a 4-step maturity model. I call it Ready for Impact. And let's start with compliance. As discussed, not the holy grail, and overwhelming, as we said, but maybe the most misunderstood step if we think about enlightening the transformation. Compliance is where it begins. We all know when a new regulation comes out, like CSRD, Digital Product Passport, EUDR, it feels like a burden. And that's a normal reaction in the companies. But there's a thing. What you measure, you can start to change and optimize. And it's not about only being compliant. It's, as you know, mainly about risks. And I think we talk too less about the risks. We need to talk more about real-world business threats when we talk about sustainability. And this here isn't Greenpeace talking. It's again from the World Economic Forum. And even they say the biggest long-term risks are environmental, like climate breakdown, ecosystem collapse, resource shortages. And they are not only moral dilemmas, they are business threats. And we need to see that for our future. If you're ignoring ESG today, you're not being pragmatic. You're blind. You're blind for your future. And so I think we need to communicate more about these threats, about the business impact in a way decision makers understand what is about to come. A good example for me is Neumann Kaffeegruppe, the world's largest green coffee trader. And they partnered with us and Osapiens in this case to provide a solution, end-to-end solution for the EU deforestation regulation. And that solution automates the data collection, integrates satellite data analysis, and performs AI-based risk assessments. And finally enables the direct submission of the due diligence statements to the EU portal. And by implementing EUDR, the Neumann Kaffeegruppe addresses key global risks like deforestation, biodiversity loss, and resource scarcity. So what they did, they turned compliance into climate resilience and long-term business value. And I think it's quite a good example. So once the pressure is on in that maturity model, investment follows if we focus, and that's really important, and we heard it just in the last session, if we focus on the return on invest. It's not only about being nice and being sustainable, it's about being profitable and more resilient. So there's a great chance to outpace the competition if we do it right. But the truth is, and we have to say that aloud, innovation doesn't come at free costs. There's a price for it. And let me give you an example. Companies need to invest in sustainability thinking and digital excellence. This is how we see the core capabilities for our future as Esentri. So the power comes through the combination of these skills to drive innovation. And it'll take time, because think about, for example, circular economy. How long it takes to innovate products and to completely change your production processes. It's going to take time. And in my observation on top, most companies in Europe are still not mature enough when it comes to data governance, cloud utilization, cybersecurity, or leveraging the possibilities of AI. And we also heard that before. There's a big gap from what we need and what we find when we talk to customers and companies. I say we need to work on that quickly. We don't have time. But there are exceptions, and I'm sure you know this company. It's here from Brussels. It's a really good example, Umicore, and they have evolved from a mining company into a leader in clean mobility and circular technologies. They run Europe's first battery materials power plant, a plant powered by 100% renewable energy. I think that's quite impressive. And in partnership with Microsoft, in this case, Umicore uses AI to accelerate battery innovation and for more solutions and better solutions for e-mobility. I think this is a good example where innovation drives competitiveness. Which lead me to step 3. Early movers will outpace their competitors and turn compliance into real business advantages. They gain efficiencies and market shares. I mean, look at this again from the World Economic Forum. Together with McKinsey, they've identified 189 leading production sites all over the world. And these companies didn't wait for perfect conditions. They acted with impressive results, in my opinion. Imagine you need less resources than your competition and you save money, energy, and material over many, many years. You can tell me that the systems from yesterday will outperform that approach in the future. And guess what? Most of them credit digitalization and ESG alignment as core enablers. And one of them, it's also here at that conference, and I'm really happy to see them later, is Schneider Electric from France. They didn't just make greener products, they turned the entire value chain more digital and sustainable. And they embedded sustainability across the entire business using IoT and AI to help clients reduce energy use and emissions through smart energy solutions. Today, they are recognized a global benchmark for what green and tech can look like and have been called the world's most sustainable company. And it's from Europe. So, and why will we hear more from them directly later at this conference? I'm really looking forward to it. And come to the last step of that maturity model, because now we have purpose. When the compliance culture becomes culture, we talk about purpose. And when reporting systems became decision systems, and ESG moved from the cost center to the value engine, then we succeeded. Companies that embrace this attract talent. Companies that embrace this approach will attract talent in the future, I'm for sure. And talking about KPIs, I'm convinced if you give your people a mission and a clear purpose, they will outperform all of your KPIs in the future. So for me, the best is yet to come. We need to talk more about inspiring stories from step 2 onwards instead of focusing of step 1 alone. And this is my impression sometimes, that we only focus on step 1. But this is the wrong way, in my opinion, to communicate. We need to produce more success stories and put them on stage. So I'm convinced to create real business impact, we need the twin transformation for the European economy. We've seen wonderful examples what happens when tech and impact meet in practice. And I'm sure that is our sweet spot and driver for our future. And I'm really happy that this conference here exists. So in the end, what about our future now? Europe can lead. Europe must lead to show the world that our vision of the future is way more than green. I really love that idea. Not because we move fastest, but because we move together. We move together with our humanistic values and with a shared bold vision. And while others talk mainly about tech for scale, we should also talk about tech for society and our planet. And while others deregulate and raise tariffs, we should continue working on a regenerative economy that enables future readiness, resilience, and innovation for the better. And now we are here. If you're in this room, you're already part of this twin transformation. And at this first TransformIT conference, I think that sounds really exciting. So you build the solutions, you can multiply your knowledge here, and you design the economy of the future. So here's my ask. As said before, don't wait for permission or others to follow. start designing for impact. The EU gave us the frameworks. Now it's on us to drive them into success stories. Let's lead not because we just have to, but because personally I believe that this will be a game changer for Europe and for all of our children. Thank you very much.